Okay, in today's video, I'm going to show you how these salt lamp actually work. And do they work? Yes, they do. Now, before I go into the video, I am going to say a few things. The top name on YouTube's and the top physics around the world cannot even explain how things actually work, or how these things actually work or benefit. So in today's video, I'm going to explain you all of that. Although I'm not going to go into full detail, I'm going to go give you what I think is relevant that to say that these lamps actually works, and how it works, and how it benefits. And before that, I'm going to pause this, and we're going to go to the drawings. Okay, so I drew this thing way ahead of time, so that way we can speed up a little faster. And I'm going to put some relevant information so we can understand how this thing actually works, or how it helps us or benefit by using this for some people. Okay. Now you may going to hear things that you never heard before, and you're going to see things that you're never been seen before. And I'm going to explain a few of them and to explain a few things. The people actually benefit from these is actually have some sort of pre-existing conditions, and also to how the body getting older. Remember that, okay? As the body ages, so does these things known as radiation. Now, when the lights, this is where the light is, if you noticed, there's some brighter and there's some darker. Remember this, okay? It's how it's being filtered. We're using salt as a filter. Just like some of those car filter, like tinted windows, that's a filter. Okay? So basically, we are using salt as a filter, and I'm going to explain how we're going to filter it. Now, when the light shines through, we get what is known as a photon. Now, a photon, if we split them, we see what is known as a prism. I'm going to show you the picture on the screen right now, okay? And we know that it comes to like a rainbow color. In that light, there's also something as radiation, and we know all about that. Okay, I'm going to say radiation. Okay? Now we know the radiations move as particle waves. So imagine these waves are little tiny particles with it. Okay? And it travels like this, very fast. Then it's spayed out, and it goes into a flat line, which is when it dies. So energy dies. In this energy or light, there is something known as a photon. When they split that, the highest scale, which is, there's more of course, but I'm going to concentrate on the colors that we know in the rainbow and a little extra. Up here is darker red, which is about 700 nanometer. Okay, that's how they move. Same thing with a photon. When they move like that, and it goes on forever in space, not when it hits something. So when that light hits this, it being filtered, Now, before I go into that, I'm going to tell you a little bit to understand. Red is about 600 nanometer, like how fast it moves. This orange is 600, yellow is 580, green is 550, cyan is 500, blue is 450, and violet is about 400, okay? But there's more, because scientists and physicists start to realize is that there are darker shade of violet. Same thing with here, if we really go into that. So they name it UVB1, UV light 2, B2, and 3. So let's make it simple, 1, 2, and 3. And it range from 290 nanometer to about 400. Those are the effects. These has been shown from 280 to 320 nanometer, around here, okay, known to affect the skin, as we know from the sun, because that's what the sun gives us. The sun gives us photons and the radiation. Well, these pretty much are almost the same thing, because there's something called fusion, okay, because we use electricity to turn this into a light. So this, it's a little bit different. Remember, this is a little bit different, but it falls into the same categories. Although they're going to have to rewrite physics a little bit, but let's stick with what we know. Now, before I go into that, I'm going to hold these things in for you in my hand, and I'm going to show you that these rocks, okay, in the olden days, they take stained glass and they put them in a church. Okay, that's why church, if you notice, there's a lot of stained glasses in churches. Now, when you go into the church during the brightest day in the church, you will feel really good. Not because of you're close to God, but because of the stained glasses that's being filtered. And yes, this is the first time in human history that someone actually explained that. So basically the light, which pretty much the same thing as this light here, is being filtered through the stained glass. So you are getting beneficial light. I'll explain that here, okay? The beneficial light, as far as I understand this, it's in the green zone. Funny, huh? Ha ha. It's in the green zone. And here's another thing to prove this. Leaves on trees happen to be green. No one in human history have ever looked at that and said, why leaves is beneficial? Why do we eat a salad? So we are in the green zone. Okay? Now this light, as a photon, it comes out. What is it we are doing? We are filtering. We are filtering. So depend, believe it or not, depend on the light being here. That means this light is being filtered less. This light is being filtered more. So some people actually get bothered by that light, and some people get very beneficial from this light. Why? It's because it's how it's being moved. That's why they measure it in nano wave. Okay? So you see something like this, and you see an N nanometer wave. They put an NM right next to that. It's because it's nano wave, how they move. So because we are filtering it, we filter out the 700, although 700 passes right through because it's very strong. Unless something stronger than that. If you look at here, you can see how this light being fused. Okay? You can see bright here and you can see dark here. So when we look at this here, we will see that some of them is being blocked. But these are beneficial lights. Some people, because it's so low, some people actually get bothered by this. Yes, you will hear it again. That's why they sell blue filtered eyeglasses. They also filter blue lights out of TV. If you look at online, you will see them. And yes, if you are one of those people and you want to be a healthier, you want to get this out of your eyes. It's because all these are considered bad. So you want UV light and blue light to be filtered. So basically, here it is. We are diffusing the light. So that way, the beneficial one is up here. Starting about 550. Believe it or not, the first time in human history you're going to hear something. It's only about 575 to about 550. Those are very beneficial. So I'm going to put a star on that. This light here is very beneficial to human. These, of course, it's not. And these, we already know UVB 1, 2, and 3. It's already harmful to our skins, or that's why they sometimes you hear them, they said UV light will give you cancer. It's because it's too low for the beneficial. So believe it or not, it starts, even I do not agree, I myself do not agree to about here. I agree to about 500 to only about 575. So about 550, it's 5.45 hertz, they call it, because it's measured in the wavelength. Okay? And because of this is 550 nanometer and 5.45 hertz. Okay? And that's where I find the beneficial to the human. That is, we as human, there is such a small scale and no scientist, no physicist in the world that knows about this. Because I tested these and I actually like around there. So, basically, we are filtering the light. So the strong light can pass us through and the weaker light gets stuck. Basically, that's what we're doing. Same thing with radiation. Radiation, because we are fusing something together, called fusion, it splits into two things. One is a photon and one is radiation. The stronger radiation will pass through. The weaker radiation will get stuck in here. We do not want anything weak. Strong, if it's too strong, it can actually burn you. So if you have, if you have a light bulb so strong, yes, you can actually put your hand here and it will burn you. Same thing with the sun. If you go close to the sun, it will burn you. But if you stay far enough, that's why the sun is so beneficial. Because it's so far that by the time it reaches to Earth, it gave us the right amount that we needed. And that's why the Earth works so well, because of this distance. To be honest, truthfully, the Earth works even better. We have to move it out a little bit. I wish we could, right? So, because of that understanding, because of all these things, and because when I found out that from 550 to only 575 nanometer is where the beneficial of the human. So even these light, when it splits, these wave, it's actually bad for human. And these, we already know that. We don't want blue. We don't want UV light or purple or cyan. And that's why I put all these, like red, yellow, green, blue, and orange, and purple, and dark purple. Dark purple is actually all the way down here. And dark red is actually up here, because what they known as infrared. And it's even more. But we're going to limit these because I don't want to go in further than that. There's actually more going that way. And there's even more going this way. But I want to concentrate on here because you've seen so many already. And that's how the light is being split. It's actually being split. A photon split. Yes. When you split a photon, you actually see what is known as a rainbow. Yes. A rainbow is a remnant of a light being split. And if you take this photon and you split it, you will see something like that right there. And that's the same thing as the picture I'm showing you on the screen right now. When it goes to a prism, that's how we are actually splitting it. If you shine a light through, you are actually splitting it. And you were able to see all these colors because it rearranged in the way. First time in human history, gravity plays a very important role in how we see the color as well. So yes, gravity actually affects the way light that we see, and that's how we're able to see rainbow. First time in human history, you're going to understand something that no one have ever explained in detail and in depth like I am doing it here. So, do salt lamp works? Yes, they do. They just don't know how to explain it. They don't know the beneficial to that. By understanding this, you'll be able to understand the beneficial wave. Remember that, because it actually affects. Yes, the first time in human history, you actually breathe these waves as well. If it gets to you, if it gets the splits in the air, it's called ionized wave. And it's the first time you're going to hear something like that. The sun actually gives us ionized radiation. Two things. One is radiation by the heat we know, because it helps the photon to travel. But the photon itself, it's actually because of the beneficial wave, they call it, because literally you see something like this. Okay? Each one of those, but in color. Not because of our eyes, like some people said, but because of splitting a photon. Yes, you can split a photon. When that photon splits or hits something, okay, remember that a photon can hit something. Like if you put something, a light, in a little dark thing like this here, it'll stop the light because the photon actually, you can actually stop light, as we all know. And that's why if you put your hand like this, you will see a shadow right next to it, because you are stopping. See it? I am actually stopping light from here. You see that? The light that is up here. And that's why you're able to see my shadow. Okay? So basically, all we're doing, using this, we're using because it's orange. And notice the color. Color play a very important role. Just like how I said about church using stained glass. Okay? And that's why it feels good to stay inside a church on a bright day. It's because it's filtering. But some people think we're close to God. Get it? Oh, really? They said if God is everywhere, why do we need to go to church for? I'm not going to get in that today because that's not how. Anyway, so I don't want to offend anybody, but this is physics. And of course, you got to explain a few things, but hey, what do I know, right? So, because of that, when we are in churches, we feel good because it's the beneficial light that we are actually absorbing and breathing. Remember, it's two things that I always tell you, that we absorb and we breathe them. And yes, these are very beneficial light. Only a small amount, can you believe, all these waves that is coming out of a photon. We are only benefit from 550. I can go as far as about 525, okay, to about 575. That's it. Further than that is no longer beneficial. Under that is no longer beneficial. So basically, we're filtering out around here. Not really, about here, because blue light will pass us through some of these, depending on how thick this is, depending on how the color is. So literally, we're filtering about 400. Let's say the lowest is about 400 to about 290. So we're taking these out, and what's shine through? It's about 550 to about the 700 here can easily pass us through because of the well, in this thing it's like a shorter and longer wave. Believe it or not, it is very funny when it comes to this, because that's how the energy moves. The stronger energy, the shorter the wavelength. The longer the energy, the shorter energy is the longer wavelength. Yeah, very strange how they flip this around, which sort of like here, the strong, it's very short, the weak is very long. Yeah, that's how that's how it works. But anyway, so conclusion to this, now you see how these things actually work. Yes, it does. And I said it, and I'll state it one more time. The biggest name on YouTube, I don't want to say any names, the biggest physicist in the world, or even doctor, cannot explain this. And because of me, how I understand a photon and what it does, and how beneficial it does to human and animals and plants and everything else in this lifetime. One more thing. Everyone benefit from this. Human is around here. Okay? And that's why there's actually night creatures. Funny. Night creatures. And it's always associated with dark. Brighter creatures. Isn't that funny? So that's why. Now let's say there's one more thing before I go. If you filtered this out even more than that, like for example right here, some of these lights actually leaks through. So some of them is going to bother by some people, and some here is actually good. So it's depending on how the salt lamps. Some salt lamp actually, like let's say if they're really bright like that, people being bothered by it and they don't even know it. So for the people who are pre-existing conditions or some illness, they are actually very beneficial from salt lamps like these. And if you are sick, even if you have cancer, salt lamp actually help you. It only helps you. Remember this, how the concept works, is only help you. because you filter certain things out that your body is actually rejecting or pushing. Okay, because it's not beneficial. And I'll state it one more time. The only beneficial light that you're filtering and you want is right here. That's human. And that's where the human, that's what I think, that through my research and understanding and everything else, we use that. The plants actually filtering. The plants is around here, from blue to green to even yellow. And that's why some of the colors, that's how we get our color. And that's why some fruit is red. Some food is green. Some fruit is yellow. Some is actually blue. Yeah. If you look close enough, you actually see blue. So, right? From red to about greenish blue. And, or cyan. That's what they call it. But I call it blue. Because you want to be, precise or even close enough to these colors so it make things easier. So now you understand how this thing actually works, how beneficial it is, and because some people cannot understand or cannot get from this, they don't think it doesn't work. Well, I just show you how it actually works, how beneficial it is to have these lights. Beneficial to the light because it's blocking certain wave. That's it. Yes. Yes, world. It only blocks a certain wave that we do not want to absorb or breathe in. And there you go. The first video in the world to explain how salt lamps actually work. Other than that, I will see you in the next video.